Welcome the spicy ladies. Real love doesn't need to shout to be real. Sometimes it's in the quiet gestures no one else sees. These days it's difficult to find true love, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It just hides better now. Real connection has stopped dressing in fairy tale colors. Instead, it shows up in small things done consistently with no need for applause. And when a man falls deeply in love with a Sigma female, that love becomes even more subtle, almost invisible to outsiders. The Sigma female isn't your typical woman. She isn't loud about what she feels, and she doesn't give her energy to just anyone. She's strong without showing off, smart without making noise. Her world is private, precise, and full of purpose. And loving her, really loving her, requires a different kind of man. That man is often a Sigma male, quietly confident, deep thinking, driven by meaning, not approval. He doesn't chase validation. He doesn't need the spotlight. But when he loves with intention. And when he chooses a Sigma female, his love becomes a language very few people understand. He won't always say it out loud. He might not post it for the world, but he'll do things. Real things. Things 99% of women will never notice because they weren't meant for everyone, just for her. If you're that kind of man, keep going. You weren't made for the noise. You were made to move in quiet strength, in honest love, and in the kind of loyalty that can't be faked. Let's get started. The spicy ladies. Number 1. He treats her intelligence like a flame, not a threat. Most men claim they want a smart woman until they meet one who actually makes them feel small. That's where everything changes. Some back away, some compete, others go silent. But when a man is truly in love with a Sigma female, he doesn't treat her intelligence like something to control or tame. He treats it like a flame, a force, a living, breathing energy that deserves air, space, and respect. He doesn't just admire her brilliance when it benefits him. He stands in front of it even when it challenges his own ego. He doesn't get uncomfortable when she's the sharpest voice in the room or when she connects dots others can't even see. In fact, it excites him. It makes him step up not to overshadow her, but to match her energy, to grow beside her. Because he knows something most people miss. Her intelligence isn't just about knowledge. It's about how she sees, how she reads people, situations, and intentions without needing to say a word. How she can sit quietly in a room and still know exactly what's going on. That level of awareness, that kind of mind. It takes courage to love it. It takes security to stand next to it without flinching. He doesn't interrupt her ideas. He listens deeply. He doesn't correct her to feel superior. He asks questions, not to challenge her, but to understand her. He turns her insight into fuel, not a threat to his identity, but a reason to grow his own. This kind of man, rare, because it's easier to shrink a woman's light than to expand your own vision. But he doesn't want her to dim. He wants her to burn, to lead, to evolve. Because when she does, something in him evolves, too. That's not just love. That's alignment. That's devotion to growth, not just romance. And most women will never experience it. But the Sigma female will know when she's found it. Right now, if you are still watching, I hope this video can help you. Your comments motivate me so much, so I can make more videos which you like. So hit that subscribe button and leave me a message. Let's continue. Number 2, he craves her respect more than her love. Love is beautiful, but respect from a Sigma female, that's a whole different weight. Most women show love through affection, attention, or words. But a Sigma woman, she shows love by respecting you. If she doesn't respect who you are at your core, everything else means nothing. And the man who truly loves her knows this. He doesn't beg for her attention. He doesn't measure his worth by how often she calls or compliments him. What matters most to him is the look in her eyes when she talks to him. That quiet recognition that says, I see you. I trust you. I believe in how you think. Because for her, respect is rare. She doesn't hand it out just because you're nice or charming. You have to earn it with consistency, with depth, with clarity in how you live. And that's what he's after. Her respect tells him he's doing something right. It tells him he's someone she can lean on if she ever decides to. He might love how she laughs. He might melt when she's soft with him, but it's the quiet moments when she listens to his ideas without interrupting, when she gives him space to lead, when she trusts his judgment, that hit different. That's when he knows he's not just her partner, but someone she actually rates. A man who's after her respect isn't trying to win her over with romance. He's focused on showing up as someone solid, someone grounded, someone who doesn't flinch when she's intense or overthink when she's distant. He knows the real prize isn't getting her to fall in love. It's earning a place in her mind, in her decisions, in her trust. Because once she respects you, her love becomes unshakable. Not loud, not clingy, but deep, intentional, unforced. And that's the kind of love only a few men will ever experience. Number 3, he doesn't interrupt her solitude. He waits outside it. When a Sigma female needs space, it's not a game. It's not punishment. It's how she breathes. Her solitude is her fuel, her clarity, her protection. And a man who truly loves her doesn't barge into that space trying to fix things or get her attention. He understands that silence isn't rejection. It's her way of recalibrating. So he waits not impatiently, not with guilt or drama. He waits with presence. He stays close enough for her to feel him, but never so close that she feels smothered. That kind of patience is rare, especially in a world where most people equate love with constant contact. But he knows better. He knows that for her to come back fully, she needs to feel like she's not being pulled or pressured. He doesn't take her need for distance personally. He doesn't spiral into insecurity or start chasing her with questions. Instead, he stands guard quietly, gently. He lets her know she has the space to be whoever she needs to be in that moment. But she's not alone. And when she's ready, when she finally opens that door and steps out from her solitude, he's still there, right where she left him, steady, grounded, unchanged. That consistency earns her trust more than any long speech ever could. Because here's the truth. A Sigma female only lets in people who can respect her world without trying to rearrange it. Her space is sacred. Her stillness is where she meets herself. And a man who truly sees her doesn't ask for more of her than she's ready to give. He simply makes sure that when she returns, the world she comes back to feels safe, warm, and real. That kind of love doesn't shout. It just waits, and that's why it stays. Number 4, he observes what drains her and silently removes it. A Sigma female doesn't always speak up when something's bothering her. She's used to handling life alone, sorting through stress in her own head, and powering through discomfort without asking for help. But the man who truly loves her pays attention to the things she doesn't say. He watches closely. He listens to the pauses, the heavy exhales, the way her energy changes after certain people or situations. He notices what makes her eyes dim, what leaves her tired instead of energized, what causes her to overthink or disconnect. And once he spots it, he doesn't sit her down for a deep emotional discussion. He doesn't make a show of saving her. He just starts clearing the path. If it's a draining friendship that she won't walk away from yet, he subtly creates distance. If it's responsibilities weighing her down, he handles what he can without making her feel incapable. If it's a toxic environment, he shifts the vibe, not for credit, not to be thanked, but because peace for her is sacred. And he knows that giving her peace is a deeper act of love than flowers or compliments ever could be. He doesn't treat her like a project. He doesn't try to fix her. He simply removes the noise so her strength has room to breathe, and she notices even if she never says it. That kind of effort, it sinks in. It builds trust. It earns her quiet loyalty. Because a Sigma woman doesn't expect anyone to carry her burdens. But when someone removes even the smallest weight from her shoulders without needing applause, it shakes her. That's when she starts to feel safe. That's when her guard drops. Not all at once, but enough to let you in. And in a world that constantly drains her, a man who protects her energy becomes her calm in the chaos. That's the man she starts to build silently around. Number 5, he reinvents himself in silence. Being with a Sigma woman doesn't come with a checklist. She won't nag him to change. She won't beg him to grow. But the moment he falls in love with her, something inside him shifts quietly, deeply. He starts looking in the mirror differently. He starts examining his thoughts, his reactions, his wounds, not because she's forcing it, but because she makes growth attractive. He watches how she moves, how she handles conflict without chaos, how she walks through life with focus and depth. And he begins to realize he wants to rise to that level, not for her approval, not to impress her, but because being around her activates parts of him he didn't even know were asleep. He doesn't announce this transformation. He doesn't tell the world, look at what she's done for me. He just works quietly, relentlessly. He becomes more emotionally aware, more calm under pressure, more intentional with his choices. And as he evolves, she watches silently. She sees the difference not in what he says, but in how he moves. And that's when her respect starts to deepen. Because she never wanted a perfect man. She wanted a man who grows, a man who takes himself seriously enough to improve with or without an audience. In silence, he becomes someone she can admire. In silence, he sheds old layers and steps into a version of himself that he's proud of. And that silent evolution, that's what keeps her connected. That's what keeps her close. Number 6, he shields her public image like a sacred thing. To most people, the Sigma woman can come off as too quiet, too intense, or just too much. They don't understand her stillness. They mistake her solitude for arrogance, her sharp mind for coldness, and honestly, she's used to that. She doesn't correct them. She lets people believe whatever fits their comfort zone. But the man who loves her deeply, he doesn't stay silent. He doesn't let others twist her name or misunderstand her nature. He shields her reputation like it's his own. Not because she asks him to. Not because she's fragile, but because he knows her silence is not weakness. It's restraint. He speaks up in rooms where she's not present. He defends her when others try to misread her energy. He doesn't romanticize her mystery. He protects it because he understands her quiet isn't emptiness. It's armor. Armor she's had to build from years of being misunderstood. And this doesn't mean he worships her or puts her on a pedestal. It means he sees her clearly and values her deeply. When she chooses to open up or show her heart, he understands how rare that is. And he doesn't let anyone make light of it. He doesn't explain her. He honors her. That's the difference. And the Sigma woman, she notices. Even if she never says it, it matters to her because the world is noisy. And it takes a rare kind of man to step into that noise and speak truth, especially when she's not around to hear it. Number 7, he never competes with her solitude. Some men get uncomfortable when a woman doesn't need constant attention. They mistake quiet for distance and assume space means she's slipping away. But a Sigma female, she thrives in solitude. It's where she recharges, where she thinks clearly, where she remembers who she is. And the man who really loves her, he never tries to compete with that. He doesn't fight for her time like he's battling a rival. He doesn't get insecure when she goes days without texting paragraphs or calling for no reason. He knows her silence isn't rejection, it's maintenance. He doesn't force presence. He earns it. And he makes sure that whenever she does come back, it's worth the return. He keeps his energy solid, his world steady so that when she steps out of her solitude, she finds a man who didn't fall apart in her absence, a man who respected her enough not to interrupt her healing space. This builds something strong, something real. Because when a woman knows she can take a breath without everything collapsing around her, that's when she starts to trust. That's when she begins to open up. Not because she has to, but because she wants to. And that's the magic. He never tries to outshine her need for space. He just makes sure he's the kind of man she looks forward to returning to. Number 8, he mirrors her emotional control to gain her trust. A Sigma female doesn't open up to just anyone. Her emotions are guarded like a vault. Not because she's cold, but because she's learned that giving the wrong people access to her feelings only leads to disappointment. So, when a man falls for her, he quickly realizes raw emotional displays or dramatic declarations won't work here. They'll only make her pull away. She watches how he reacts under pressure. She listens more to his tone than his words. She notices when he loses himself in frustration or rushes to overshare. And in those moments, she's not judging him. She's measuring his stability because emotional control to her is safety. So he adjusts. Not by pretending or bottling things up, but by learning her pace. If she's slow to open up, he slows down, too. If she's cautious with her vulnerability, he respects that rhythm. He doesn't try to bulldoze through her calm energy with loud emotions. He meets her where she is with steadiness and patience. This mirroring doesn't mean he becomes fake or passive. It means he's tuned in. He starts to reflect the kind of emotional balance she values. One that doesn't explode under stress or collapse under silence. The more she sees that, the more she relaxes. Bit by bit, the walls come down. And when she finally starts to show him the parts of herself she hides from everyone else, he knows he didn't break in. He was let in. That's the difference. Most people rush in hoping to win her heart fast. But the man who truly earns her trust, he studies her calm. He respects her quiet strength. And then he becomes the kind of man who can hold it without shaking. Number 9. He learns her patterns like a mathematician. To the average eye, the Sigma female seems unpredictable, sometimes warm, sometimes distant, sometimes unreadable. But that's only because most people don't take the time to truly observe her. They're too focused on what she says and not nearly focused enough on what she doesn't say. But the man who truly loves her, he studies her like a quiet science. He doesn't guess. He pays attention. He learns the shifts in her mood, her energy, her silence. He notices how she suddenly retreats after too much social interaction. He picks up on how her smile dims when she's overwhelmed, even if she says she's fine. He understands her rhythms when she needs space, when she needs closeness, and when she needs neither, but just presence. He treats her like a complex formula, not in the sense of trying to solve her, but to understand her. He knows that her emotional world isn't linear. It moves like music, like seasons, like waves. And the more he watches, the more fluent he becomes in the subtle language she speaks through her actions. He doesn't interrupt her process. He just learns it slowly, patiently, respectfully. Because once he sees the pattern in her unpredictability, he realizes it's not random at all. It's intelligent. It's layered. And the more he honors those patterns, the more she begins to feel seen, not studied, known, not managed. And here's the twist. She notices. She sees him making the effort to get her on a level others never could. She feels the difference between someone who reacts and someone who reads. And that kind of understanding, it builds trust where words never could. So, while others call her complicated and give up, he becomes the one man who can sit with her chaos and make sense of the beauty behind it. That's not obsession. That's intention. And that's why she keeps coming back. Number 10. He becomes her sanctuary without ever saying it. A Sigma female doesn't go around asking to be saved. She doesn't throw herself into someone's arms hoping they'll carry her through life. If anything, she's been her own shelter for so long that the thought of relying on someone feels risky, maybe even foreign. She's built herself from the ground up, brick by brick, scar by scar. But when she meets a man who gets it, something shifts. Not because he announces that he'll protect her. Not because he insists on being her emotional crutch. He just becomes her calm place without making a show of it. He doesn't rush her to open up. He doesn't overwhelm her with intensity. He simply shows up consistently, quietly, with a kind of energy that doesn't demand anything from her. When the world feels too loud, he's quiet. When her mind is spinning, he listens. When she's tired, he doesn't push. He just stays close. And slowly, she starts to exhale around him. She stops guarding every word. She lets the armor slip just a little. Not because she's weak, but because he's made her feel like she doesn't have to fight for every inch of emotional space. He never brags about being there for her. He doesn't wear it like a badge of honor. His protection is silent, his support invisible to the world, but unmistakable to her. She feels it in how he looks at her, how he never interrupts her stillness, how he holds space for her when she falls quiet. And that's the thing. Sanctuary isn't loud. It doesn't come with speeches. It's a feeling, a quiet knowing that in a world that constantly demands, drains, and disappoints, this man is her pause, her breath, her reset. He doesn't ask her to need him, but somehow over time she begins to want him, not as a shield, but as peace. Number 11. He respects her boundaries, but still tests her edges. A Sigma female's boundaries are not suggestions. They're firm. They're intentional. They weren't built out of pride. They were built out of survival. Every wall she's put up has a reason. Every line she's drawn has history behind it. She's not difficult. She's just careful. And the man who truly loves her doesn't challenge those lines to provoke her. He respects them, but he also knows when to lean in just enough to remind her that she's still alive inside the fortress. He never pushes for more than she's willing to give. He doesn't pressure her to be more open, more emotional, more available. But he pays close attention. He notices the moments when her voice softens, when her eyes linger, when her walls tremble ever so slightly. And in those moments, he gently nudges, not to invade her, but to remind her that connection doesn't have to mean control. He doesn't come in swinging, trying to tear down what's protected her. He walks the perimeter with patience, learning what each boundary really means. And then he dares to ask questions others were too afraid or too lazy to ask. He shows her there's life beyond survival, that some boundaries aren't meant to be removed, but they can be expanded. Because here's the truth. She wants someone who respects her world, but also makes her feel safe enough to stretch beyond it. She wants a man who doesn't just admire her strength, but invites her softness without making her feel weak for having it. And when he tests her edges, it's not to push her over. It's to remind her that she's allowed to evolve, that she doesn't have to live her entire life inside the same walls she once needed to survive. He doesn't crack her open. He simply stays close enough that one day when she's ready, she opens the door herself. In final words, real connection doesn't ask for attention. It asks for depth. It's not loud. It's not easy, but it's always real. Loving a Sigma female is not for the faint-hearted. She doesn't offer love wrapped in comfort or familiarity. She offers something rarer, truth, stillness, a kind of loyalty that can't be bought with charm or flowers. And the man who truly sees her doesn't try to change her or fit her into a version of love that works for everyone else. He adjusts his rhythm. He listens more. He steps into the kind of emotional strength most people run from. That man, he's different. And chances are, if you see yourself in these words, you're already walking that road. You're not looking for attention. You're not chasing a role. You're quietly building something stronger than performance. You understand patience. You've learned to love with presence, not pressure. And most importantly, you know the value of a woman who doesn't need you, but chooses you anyway. That's not ordinary love. That's rare. And rare men know how to hold rare women. So if you're one of those few who has found himself loving a Sigma female, honor that space. Protect her peace without dimming her power. Evolve beside her without losing your own direction. Speak less, observe more. Let the world chase noise while you build something solid in the quiet. Because you were not made to follow trends or echo someone else's version of love. You were made for something deeper, something real. And if she sees that in you, you're already one of the rarest men alive. Keep going. You're not invisible. You're unforgettable. Stay true to yourself. To all the spicy ladies make life beautiful. See you in our next video.